Welcome to another edition of Express Talk. This week I am with independent wrestler Sherman. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me, Michael.
So, I'd like to start with, letting the guest, tell the listeners, I guess you could say, about how they got in the business and, their background in pro wrestling. So, the ball is yours.
Sure. I was fortunate enough to have a promoter slash wrestler slash booker. He basically my neighbor when growing up. He owned a ring, and once I got to a certain age, I started traveling with him because he knew that I was interested in the business. And it was a great time because the guys we got to meet, I spent the 5-6 years just setting the ring up and doing odd jobs around the shows and stuff, and learning and watching certain guys, and it was a good learning experience that a lot of guys don't get the opportunity to experience.
Yeah. I know as from seeing pictures on your Facebook that you're in the process of starting your own training school.
Yeah, it's been a couple years in the making. I've spent 21 years throughout the Midwest, a little bit in the Mid-South, and Mid-Atlantic area, touched around there a little bit, and, dipped my toe in the TNA pool and the Ring of Honor pool and the old ECW pool, and, there's just a handful of schools around here, and I had the opportunity to open my own, and, we had to find the right opportunity, the right building, and I think we have done that. And here in the next couple of weeks, we should be opening up the Spinebuster University.
That sounds awesome. As far as how you got in the business, and how your mentor per se helped you, brought you along, is that how you're going to teach your students, or you really haven't decided yet?
No, they'll get a little bit of that. Obviously, the hands-on, learning on-the-job type experience, but to where I had a good foundation in that. I really didn't have the technical aspect of in the classroom type per se, like in a wrestling school. Basically, I was shown the basics and more or less kind of thrown to the wolves. You kind of hear like Ricky Morton kind of describe his experience almost exactly the same way. So I don't want to kind of cheat them out of something. I value my experience coming in a certain way, but I was kind of hamstringed. I feel that I was handicapped, to a certain degree of things that I could have learned in a school environment. So, hopefully, we can offer something hands-on as well as in a training school environment. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. you know, what would you say? But would you say that, like, your way of, the way you're going to train, would you call it, like, how would you classify it, I guess is what I'm trying to say? Like more old school?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an old school. I'm an old school kind of guy. You know, they'll have the opportunity to kind of learn different aspects of the business as far as the different, how you have like the lucha libre, or you know, just the technical high flying, whatever you want to do. They'll have the opportunity to kind of learn that from the certain different guys that we bring in, but at the same time, I'm going to teach them the basics, the groundwork, and kind of expand from there. And it's going to be kind of tailored per the guy or girl. There's going to be certain things that, you know, I'm not going to teach a 400-pounder guy, you know, like myself, to go out and, you know, fly around the ring like, you know, he's Tarzan. You know, it just doesn't make sense. So each individual is going to kind of have some tailored, you know, training, you know, that they can kind of develop and run with themselves. So, you know, but you know, it's gonna be tough. Everyone's gonna kind of pull their own weight. Everyone's gonna learn how to respect the business and pay their dues, which I think is a lost art in many places that I run into. Everyone thinks they're a superstar, and everyone thinks they need championship titles and, you know, superstar treatment, but they never set up and tore down a ring to save their life. So, you know, there'll be some hard times, but hopefully those hard times turn into good times. You know, they end up respecting the business and loving the business as much as I do, if not more.
Yeah, that's I couldn't agree more that, you know, some people, it seems like some people, it seems like I hear more about people not wanting to pay their dues and expecting to be pushed right up top, as opposed to working towards getting up top because they see how WWE does the quick push, and they expect the quick push to happen on the indies also.
Sure, I mean, I know, you know, you can't really blame the kids. You know, I mean, like you said, they kind of emulate what they kind of see on TV, and, you know, they kind of expect that same treatment. But, you know, a lot of people don't realize, you know, the similarities as well as the differences between, you know, WWE and independent scene. You know, aside from the money or the production level and, you know, stuff like that, but.
Mm-hmm.
There is a certain degree that, I mean, and there are certain places where you can just go and start off on top, you know, and that will happen to a select few that, you know, the guys who just get it, and the guys or girls who, you know, you just know that they're special, but at the same time, they are going to develop that love for the business and pay their dues just like everybody else, you know. You know, at least in our training center. So.
Well, that's good to hear. Now we move to more so talking about independent wrestling as a whole, because I believe, like, you know, as, you know, a website and, you know, as a supporter of indie wrestling, I believe that the independent scene doesn't get as much of the spotlight as it should, because most people think it's WWE or TNA or Ring of Honor or Lucha, and they don't try and give independent wrestling a chance because it's not on television.
Yeah, sure. You know, again, it's no fault to the fans. In many cases, there's a lot of people who kind of abuse the business and kind of shoot ourselves in the foot by. There's a lot of promotions out there that are not good, and guys still go out and work them because, you know, they're getting their, you know, payday or whatnot. But, a lot of companies out there that aren't worth working for. You know, you go down, you know, if you have two companies, you know, within a couple miles of each other, and the first company is, you know, for lack of a better term, kind of trashy, and all your fans go to that show and they see, you know, subpar workers and, you know, a subpar production, and the ring's a mess, and concessions are nasty, and, you know, they're not going to come back, you know, regardless of who's the promotion. So then the second promotion runs, you know, 10 miles down the road, and, you know, they have really good promotion, they have really good production, they have, you know, a nice ring, they walk, you know, everything's top notch, and regardless of whether one's good or one's bad, the fans aren't going to go to it because they've already experienced the bad one. And that's what we kind of run into a lot, is that, you know, a lot of fans are turned off by, you know, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on here, but like shitty independent companies and shitty independent wrestlers who, you know, pretty much look like they should be buying tickets. And, you know, there's no suspension of belief there. It's sad, really. You know, a pro wrestler should look like a pro wrestler, you know, one way or the other. But if you look like you just bought your gear from Walmart, and, you know, you look like you just, you know, changed a muffler down at the local, you know, Jiffy Lube, then, you know, that's not something that the wrestler wants, or a wrestling fan wants to see. They want to see, you know, stars. So on any level.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I couldn't agree more. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago, but I think it was Rip Rogers on Twitter say something about how fans aren't so much trying to be fans anymore, and they're trying to be, you know, more than that, even though they have no involvement in the business. They're acting like they do. And, you know, somebody mentioned how, you know, a fan actually walked up to a wrestler and told them what they should have done in a match. You know, what is your take on those types of fans? Not, you know, just, you know, go ahead.
There's some good fans like that. Obviously, there are some bad fans like that. You know, if a fan goes and pays his money to your show, then he obviously has an opinion of what he likes or she likes, you know, but, you know, again, they're a paying fan. So, you know, if we're not giving them what they want, they're not going to come back. But similar to what Rip said, yeah, there is a time and a place that, you know, where the fans are kind of overstepping their bounds a little bit to, you know, where their opinion matters. And you see it a lot right now with WWE just kind of going out and, you know, all these independent stars are getting signed by WWE, and these, you know, I don't know if they're called smart fans or, you know, the internet wrestling community, I guess, is what the most common term for them are. You know, they're very vocal, and that's, you know, it's great that they're, you know, engaged, but at the same time, they kind of need to know their place of, you know, just sit back and enjoy the product. And if you don't enjoy the product, then support what you do. You know, give independent wrestling a chance. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I will admit that I used to be a member of the internet wrestling community, but, you know, what brought me out of it was finally looking at wrestling as a business rather than just looking at wrestling where, why isn't my favorite guy getting pushed? You know, he's the best guy, you know, he's, you know, getting the reaction, he's this, he's that, you know, but that's the problem. Most fans don't look at it from a heel or face perspective. They'll cheer a heel even though the best thing for them would be to boo the heel. You know?
Basically, I mean, you kind of boil it down to the Roman Reigns effect. Was it like 2 years ago? As he was leaving the Shield and he was climbing to the top of the WWE mountain. The fans were loving him, but as soon as the WWE started pushing him, then the fans turned on him and totally hate him. It's the same guy. He's doing the same stuff, but now he's not the internet darling, or he doesn't have the fans' eye, and now the fans can't stand him. And that's not to say like the internet wrestling community is bad. Obviously, again, you're a fan, you have a voice, but there's certain people that just you can't satisfy. They're never happy. You push one guy, that's not who we want. You want this guy, and you push this guy. No, we don't want that guy. We want this guy now. So it's kind of frustrating, and I kind of understand. It is a business, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is, it's time to make money. People don't like John Cena, but John Cena is good for business. He's not really wrapped up in scandals. He's not, he's got that clean image that, most guys, don't have. And, whether that's a turnoff for male fans or whatnot, or they're just, who knows, they're tired of being on him on top for like the last 15 years, so who knows. But it's a business, and people need to realize that.
Yeah. Do you think that the internet wrestling community has a negative effect on just WWE or the wrestling as a whole?
I wouldn't call it a totally negative effect, but I wouldn't call it a totally positive effect either. But they definitely have an effect of all wrestling. I don't know if promoters or bookers kind of push certain guys because of this, that, or because of the internet wrestling community. But what they say. But that's a question I guess you would have to ask. Individual bookers or promoters, but even in our companies that we're kind of or I'm involved with, I mean, we see it all the time with guys just kind of, and it's happened to me where a guy from the internet wrestling community was a fan and now he's not a fan, and I'm just, you try to reason with the guy, just kind of, just talking to him, like, just kind of gauging what was happening, like what changed your mind, and they can't give you an answer, and that's the part that kind of irritates me a little bit is, sometimes there's just, they just change their mind like they change their underwear, and it's kind of annoying to a certain degree.
Yeah, that's totally true, and that's one of the reasons why I am not a member of the IWC anymore, because it felt like it was one opinion, and if you didn't agree with the opinion, you were wrong.
And I wouldn't even kind of classify that as just a wrestling problem. I think that's just a problem that we're having as a society in all aspects of our life. If you don't like the right football team, or if you don't like the right politician, it kind of seems that way. I think it's just the sign of the times, man. Just, people are just very opinionated, and if you don't agree with their opinion, then, screw you and screw everybody that you're affiliated with. So,
yeah.
So hopefully those times kind of change, and we kind of go back to the way that, just as far as the wrestling product, man, just watch the product. If you like it, support it. If you don't like it, find something that you do like.
Yeah. And I just want to say, for those who are listening or watching or whatever, if I misquoted Rip Rogers, I apologize, but that is basically what he said from the thing I quoted before. I did not quote him word for word, so, just thought I'd throw that out there. But now for something I will quote word for word, not totally, but when the hype up for GFW was, the talk of the internet, Jeff Jarrett basically said that he believes that wrestling was on the cusp of a new golden age. Do you think Jeff was off his rock saying that, or do you think that, you know, it's possible to happen?
No, I don't think he's off. I don't think he's off, but I mean, you got to kind of see the resurgence of, you know, you have NXT. I mean, how popular NXT is right now, because it's an alternative. You know, even though it's under the same WWE umbrella, it's different. You know, it's a different feel. I mean, you got to kind of think that it's got an independent feel with a WWE budget. You know, there's a lot of buzz even still surrounding NXT for like the last year and a half, 2 years. You know, I think Ring of Honor and New Japan and you know, these companies are still getting buzz. You know, GFW, I haven't really heard too much from Global Force. I know they're still kind of running some shows, but you know, I think, you know, Jarrett needs some sort of a TV deal to kind of solidify that company, as in the minds of the fans at least. You know, I've heard his shows are pretty decent. You know, I haven't really caught one yet, so you know, I can't tell from personal experience. But you know, when I was at, you know, doing the TNA tryouts and stuff, Jarrett was there, and I mean, the houses were full. You know, when I was in Virginia and stuff, I mean, we had a full house, so that was a nice experience. So, you know, so obviously Jarrett knows wrestling. He grew up in the wrestling business. He kind of can see the trends, and you know, I think he is onto something. Whether the boom, I don't think it's happened yet personally, but I think it's coming. You know, for our company's sake, hopefully it's coming. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know, speaking of a wrestling boom period, what do you think, or what would you say in your mind is the state of independent wrestling right now?
I think it's pretty stable for the most part. With, you know, the pay-per-views and, you know, even certain independent companies getting television deals, and whether they're paying for the time or they're getting actual paid deals. There's a lot of wrestling companies that are getting exposure, taking advantage of, you know, the pay-per-views or the Hulus or the Netflix and various other, you know, formats that they can get their product out there, as on top of like YouTube and, you know, companies like that. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that are kind of doing the right thing, but at the same time, it's kind of still spawning those lackluster companies as well, because they think they can do the same, but they can't.
Yeah. Now, every week, even though, you know, this is only the third episode of this podcast, every week thus far, I've asked the guest on the show to bring up an independent company, because, you know, I enjoy giving the spotlight to companies that don't normally get the spotlight. And, you know, to those who are listening or watching or missed the other two episodes, week number 1 was All Pro Wrestling in California, and last week was Limitless Wrestling up in Maine. So, now the ball's back to you. Which company would you like to talk about?
There's a company that's really near and dear to my heart. I've been with since 2005. It's a great old school company that, you know, kind of does things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ohio Championship Wrestling. You know, under a new owner. I'm kind of helping that owner get his feet wet in the wrestling business, and kind of help taking the reins of kind of seeking out talent and whatnot. But I mean, the company's been around for 13, 14 years now. So that's one company that I think everybody should kind of go out and check out if you're in the Ohio area, especially to come out and support. It's an overall experience that they try to leave you with. Something that we kind of grew up on, but kind of gives you a little bit of something fresh, something new. Something old school with a new school feel, maybe you can kind of put it like that.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So for those listening or watching or however you're hearing this video, that is, if you are in the Ohio area and you're looking for a wrestling company, either you're dissatisfied with WWE or you want more wrestling, God bless you if you do, and you're a WWE fan, check out Ohio Championship Wrestling.
Yes, sir.
So
it's kind of nice if I can kind of add on to this is within we just talked about the Spinebuster University. The location that we're using for the Spinebuster University will also be used for the OCW arena. It's just a small old school gymnasium that's being converted into a wrestling arena. So it's kind of if you're a fan of like that old Smoky Mountain feel, it's gonna be somewhere on par with that, mixed in with some maybe like a Monday Night Raw feel to it. So in my opinion, it's the best of both worlds.
Sounds pretty cool. Now we move to name association or word association. Like, I'll give you a name and tell me what you think of the guy, or this, that, and the other thing.
Okay.
So I don't think that there's a better person to start with than, or there might be, but I'm going to start with Bam Bam Bigelow.
Big man that can move, totally underutilized. Should had some demons, but one of the few guys I think that should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I get compared to him a lot since I started shaving my head, but that comparison really flatters me. That people kind of not only associate our looks but our wrestling styles together. So I have mad respect for Bam Bam.
The next name would be Chief Downcloud. Oh, sorry, Chief Down Red Cloud.
Red Cloud?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chief is he was a great guy. Obviously, he's the guy that broke me into the business. He was my neighbor when I was growing up. One of the guys that, he was really tough on me because he didn't want me in the business. He fought me tooth and nail, trying to, prevent me from following this, just because he knew how hard it was. But at the same time, once I got into it and I got my feet wet and kind of started making a name for myself, he supported me when he came out and supported me quite a few times, but unfortunately, we lost a few years ago to he passed away a few years ago, so it's been a kind of empty time the last couple of years not having him around, so
Mm-hmm. The next name would be the Green Hornet.
Green Hornet. He is a total character. Literally, I just heard from him 2 days ago. Once he heard about the training center, and he wants to come out and kind of help out any way he can. He's a shameless self-promoter. Some guys need to learn from him. Good guy. He has a huge heart, and he's ran some of the biggest shows that I've ever been on in the Northeast Ohio area. The biggest crowd that I've ever wrestled in front of was about 2,500, 3,000 people, and it was at a Green Hornet show.
Mm-hmm. Now we move to a guy you mentioned earlier in the interview, Ricky Morton.
He is literally the one person that got me into the wrestling business. Between him and Robert Gibson and the Rock'n'Roll Express, they were the two guys that, they drew me to the business. It was their gear. It was, Ricky Morton's fire, his passion. You could just tell, like, he had a passion for the business. And, he is totally instrumental in the reason why I'm in the business. So if you like me, you might want to thank Ricky Morton. If you don't like me, you might want to slap Ricky Morton upside the head. But he is the reason why Sherman Tank is in the wrestling business.
Well, that's pretty good then. Otherwise, I wouldn't be getting this interview with you. Now, another person that I don't know if you had any interaction with, but because of something you mentioned earlier, Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman?
Yeah.
No, when I was doing, it was the late 90s, 98, 99, 2000, somewhere around there, is when I received 2 tryouts with ECW, the original ECW. I did not have any interaction with Paul Heyman. Basically, we dealt with Dreamer and Nova, Mike Bucci, and Phil Alfonso were the guys that we kind of dealt with majority of the time. But clearly, Paul Heyman has a mind for wrestling. Who knows? You can play the guessing game as good as anybody is what the wrestling business could be with him, running another wrestling company. I don't think he wants to do that. So, we'll just have to enjoy him kind of working with Brock Lesnar. So, and he's doing a great job at it.
Yeah, that's true. Since you mentioned his name, I'm curious: is Tommy as well liked? Is Tommy Dreamer as well liked as he seems to be from what I've heard?
In my experience, yeah. Again, I just had limited experience with him. A couple times that we were at ECW events, but I think Tommy Dreamer has mad respect from a lot of guys. And I think that's cleared by all of he's still working, and he works all over the world. There's certain ECW guys or just guys who are no longer on TV on any level that aren't working, and I don't think they don't have the respect that Tommy Dreamer has, and he still goes out and he still connects with the fans. He's a wrestling fan at heart, so boys like him, the fans like him, and he's not one of the guys that are out there pretending to enjoy the business for the money. So I think that's what kind of helps Tommy Dreamer a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And The last name I wanted to ask about is Matt Mason.
Matt Mason?
Yeah.
Man, longtime brother. We've had a lot of ups and downs throughout the last almost 20 years. But he'll always be a brother. He'll always be one of my best friends. I wish him nothing but happiness with his family and his new, ventures that he's doing with. He's out of the wrestling business, but just hopefully he's happy in what he's doing. I know he's kind of spending a lot of time with his kids and stuff right now, and obviously he's enjoying that. They're getting to that age where they're doing more, sports and activities that he can be involved in, and I know that makes him the happiest guy in the world, and I totally support that.
Mm-hmm. Number one, that's great to hear, and good on Matt Mason for doing that. But now the ball's in your court. Anything you want to build up, anything you want to hype, whether it be social media, upcoming shows, it's the ball's to you.
You can always catch me on Facebook. I was in Facebook jail for a while there, where Facebook turned my page my profile into a page. So I'm not really accessible as I once was. You just have to search me out. Other than that, you got Instagram and Twitter. You just kind of search Sherman Tank 67. Pretty easy to find. Upcoming shows. You can find me at the OCW event in BruceyB County in Cambridge, Ohio, September 17th. Lima, Ohio for War Wrestling, one of the biggest events coming up on October 1st. And another big event in Mansfield, Ohio for ASWA on October 8th. And all three of those will be well attended. And hopefully we get the place to be rocking and rolling here.
That sounds great. Well, I thank you, my friend, for joining me for this edition of Express Talk.
I appreciate it, Nickel. Thank you.
Changing things up and doing it a little different this week, as this week's episode of Express Talk did not directly have a guest that we spoke about, everything that I normally speak about on this show, or you may have come accustomed to hearing about on this show, and that is because instead of just going about things normally, I decided to surprise you and change things up. As far as what happens next week we'll be back on our normally scheduled thing where I have a guest and we talk about what's going on in the wrestling business, as opposed to me talking about a wrestler or talking with a wrestler. Not that I have a problem with it, it's just, if you remember, it used to be where every so often an interview with a wrestler would be considered Express Talk. But because now Express Talk is the podcast, that can't be. So I chose to do it like this. And if you enjoyed it, let me know down in the comment section that you enjoyed it, and I will do more podcasts like this as opposed to how I've done it the last couple of weeks. But either way, next week I will definitely be going back to how I did it the first 2 weeks and not how I did it this week. But either way, there are a few things that I wanted to talk about today, and that is something. One of the things I spoke about in a recent post, and that means that it'll be the quickest thing to talk about which is the best thing to talk about first, and that is the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles, specifically the Ring of Honor 6-man Tag Team titles, and the tournament for the Tag Team titles will begin at All-Star Extravaganza at the end of October, and will continue through the month of November up until Final Battle on December 2nd, live from the Manhattan Center in Manhattan, New York City. That's right, for the first time since 2014, Ring of Honor is back in the Manhattan Center for Final Battle, and for the first time, I believe, since the 1980s in the United States. Well, actually, no, scratch that. I forgot Lucha Underground has 6-man titles, but you know, with Lucha, well, with Lucha's connection with AAA, I don't know if that's not really the same thing here, because Ring of Honor is the first United States-based company, and American wrestling centralized. Like, there is no direct tie to Lucha, you know, the Lucha Libre style, because the 6-man or trios title has always been big down in Mexico and in Mexican central Lucha Libre based companies, or Lucha Libre centralized companies, I should say. But an American company has never had the 6-man titles, I believe, since the 1980s, when a variety of companies had the 6-man titles. And if I'm wrong, and a variety of companies did not, then I do know for sure that World Class Championship Wrestling did. And no, I'm not just talking about this because of the World Class Let's Play going on the channel right now. But either way, like I said in the post, I would love to see how the fans react to the 6-man titles, and how the 6-man titles get over in the modern era, because as far as American companies go, and you know how companies like WWE or Ring of Honor or TNA or other independent companies in the United States, not many of them have the 6-man titles, and more to that point, not many of them display the titles on a large scale, or can if they have the titles. So, you know, good job Ring of Honor on trying to be the alternative to the WWE a little bit more. And yeah,
I have to head out for a while. You think you could come down at like 9, 5 after 9 just to make sure Scott's awake?
alright.
Thank you.
Good on Ring of Honor to, I guess, still be to try and still be considered the alternative to the WWE and the other companies that they are going head to head with, like TNA and other independent companies, or even Lucha. Well, I guess I don't know why I keep considering. I don't know why I don't consider Lucha Underground a independent company, but I mean I do, but I don't know. That's beside the point. Let's move on. The next thing I wanted to speak about is the fact that Backlash is returning this Sunday night live on the WWE Network, and it is SmackDown's first sole pay-per-view since the brand extension back on July 19th. Though I will not make any predictions in this video, all I want to say is, look, I like the idea of pay-per-views like Backlash and Clash of Champions and No Mercy. You know, I like the fact that WWE shook up the pay-per-view names, but I kind of agree with Gates and Dave from last week. I don't remember if I talked about this with Sam the first week. I do believe I did, but I don't remember what he said, to be honest with you. But either way, I agree with them in the idea that pay-per-view 2 pay-per-views a month is overkill. It is overkill, but I guess in a way, like I guess in a way I could understand it, because they're trying to keep the brands completely separate, and they don't want to have it where one brand, like they used to in the original brand extension, where SmackDown would have a pay-per-view in October, but then Raw wouldn't have a pay-per-view again until December, or something like that. Well, but that's also why WWE started Cyber Sunday / Clash of Champions, to give Raw a pay-per-view between October and December, and that's why SmackDown would get Armageddon and not Raw. Well, I should say this. Raw did have the first Armageddon. I mean, yeah, I think it was the first Armageddon. Because December 2001 was Vengeance, so December 2002... Actually, December 2002 might have been Vengeance. Point is, December 2003 Armageddon was Raw's pay-per-view, and I do think that might have been the first year that they actually had full-on split with the brands, like with as far as pay-per-views go. Because, if you remember, Brock only became exclusive to SmackDown in the fall of 2002, not in 2001, not in the beginning of 2002, at the end of 2002. So technically, the pay-per-views didn't have to be split until the end of 2002. I don't know why I'm spending so much time on... Oh wait, that's my point. My point is that if they want this brand split to feel differently than the other brand splits, and then the other brand split, then doing, not making it feel like it is the same should be the main idea for WWE. And having SmackDown and Raw both have pay-per-views in a month, yes, that might be overkill, but it makes sense because it makes it feel different than the old brand split. I will say this, the old brand split did work until the end, when they basically made it meaningless, but, change is a good thing sometimes, I think it's overkill with some benefits, but to know how much benefits it has, we need to see the first SmackDown pay-per-view, which happens September 11th, live on the WWE Network. But I just want to say this, that WrestleMania should be the only 4-hour pay-per-view, with the fact that they're having 2 pay-per-views a month for both SmackDown and Raw. WrestleMania needs to be the only 4-hour pay-per-view, otherwise that is completely overkill and unnecessary. Yes, SummerSlam may be the only one, and yes, they may be trying to make SummerSlam seem like WrestleMania. They can do it without making it 4 hours. That's just my opinion. Let me know what's yours down below in the comment section. The last thing I wanted to talk about was there's a rumor going around of where Cody Rhodes ends up next on the Independents, and it really isn't so much the Independents as much as it is the other big companies in the United States not named WWE. And no, this is in no way, shape, or form insulting any other company that some of you may consider big. All I'm saying is, there's a difference between... Okay, fine. The company isn't Lucha Underground. It's Ring of Honor, and it's TNA. That's right, Cody Rhodes and Brandy, aka Eden Styles, may be headed to TNA and Ring of Honor in the coming months, or even by early 2017, which would be pretty surprising in my opinion, because that would be a big signing for both Ring of Honor and TNA to go along with what might be WWE's big signing in the beginning of 2017, as the rumors are still flying that Ricochet may be heading to WWE early next year. But I will get into the Ricochet side of things, and I will also get into the Alberto Del Rio side of things in a post in the coming weeks on the site, so keep an eye out for that. But as far as Cody Rhodes goes, yes, the rumor is that he would work for both TNA and Ring of Honor at the same time, which, I don't understand why. I kind of do understand why some companies may not want to work with TNA, because of how they booked borrowed talent. Yes, they booked what's his name? The guy from Wrestle 1. Pretty good. Sonata, that's his name. They booked Sonata pretty well while he was with the company, but by the end of it, he was nothing. I go back to how they booked Okada when they were working with New Japan, and they made Okada look like a joke. Yet, he goes back to Japan and is the biggest star next to Tanahashi, or on the same level as Tanahashi, in New Japan, and is carrying New Japan into the next generation, and wants to help New Japan expand to the United States. Smart move, TNA, not recognizing the talent you had there. I know at least one person says, why do you insist upon ragging on TNA every video you do? I don't. It's the truth. They misused Okada, and I'm not talking about, you could say, oh, WWE did. WWE misused plenty of talent, but I'm not talking about a working agreement with WWE. I'm talking about a working agreement with TNA and Ring of Honor. That would benefit both companies, and TNA should recognize how much that could benefit them because of how successful the working agreement has been between Ring of Honor and New Japan. So that could very much benefit TNA, and it could also indirectly benefit New Japan, and hell, it could benefit CMLL as well, because that could lead to talents from both international companies somehow, some way, possibly finding their way to TNA, which could be very interesting for the future of TNA if, in fact, the idea of Cody Rhodes working for both companies sees a working agreement right around the corner come to be between TNA and Ring of Honor. I would love to see that, but I don't know if that's possible to happen. Maybe, just maybe, if Billy Corgan is in fact taking over TNA, maybe that's one of the first things he'll work on, getting TNA some working agreements. But either way, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of the topics discussed in this video. A working agreement between TNA and Ring of Honor. Would that benefit both companies? Where do you want Cody Rhodes to go to next? What is your take on the 2 pay-per-views a month for WWE, and the fact that some old pay-per-views came back as a part of the brand split? And also, who could forget the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles set to debut at the end of October at All-Star Extravaganza? Let me know your take on all those topics down in the comment section below. And also, I just want to mention that in the very near future, if you have not seen the update video yet, in the very near future, changes will be made to the channel with new content coming up and appearing on the channel, and also old series getting shaken up a little bit, because like I always say, I'm throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks. So keep an eye out for the update video that will be coming in the coming weeks to further detail some of the changes and some of the new series coming up right around the corner to the channel. By now you'd think I know my outro. Well, as always, feedback is welcomed and appreciated, but if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time. Later.